The sunlight poured in through the kitchen window, illuminating Sarah as she stood dramatically poised over the cutting board, a sharp knife gleaming in her hand. Today was not just an ordinary day, it was the day she would finally conquer the fears that had long haunted her. Surrounded by a whirlwind of fresh vegetables and spices, she envisioned the end result a masterpiece for dinner that would even impress Jake. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart racing. Cooking was her sanctuary, a place where she could channel her emotions into something tangible. The sharp scent of garlic filled the air, momentarily distracting her from the knot of anxiety in her stomach. But beneath the surface of her seemingly calm exterior lurked a storm of confusion. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something was about to change between her and her stepbrother, a shift that might rock the foundation of their relationship. "Sarah!" Jake's voice echoed from the hallway, pulling her from her thoughts. The musicality of his tone was nearly intoxicating, a melody she'd grown to adore. He sauntered into the kitchen with that familiar, easy charm, an infectious grin lighting up his face as he observed the culinary chaos unfolding before him. "What's cooking, chef?" he teased, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, radiating confidence. "Just a little something," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady as she chopped away at the bell peppers. "Something spectacular." The word spectacular felt heavy on her tongue, an ambitious claim layered with unspoken expectations. Jake took a few steps closer, a twinkle of mischief in his eyes. "I hope it includes plenty of spices. Everyone knows that you can't conquer the culinary world without a little heat." He winked, and Sarah felt her cheeks flush. It was moments like these that turned her heart into a chaotic dance floor. "Speaking of heat, let's make this interesting," she shot back, sensing the adrenaline pulse through her veins. "Why don't we have a little cooking competition? Winner gets to choose dessert for the entire week." His eyebrows shot up in mock surprise. "You're on, but don't forget, I haven't lost yet." Sarah laughed, her anxiety fading momentarily, replaced by an exhilarating rush of friendly rivalry. They settled quickly into a rhythm, weaving around each other as they gathered ingredients and shared laughter, the air thick with excitement. Yet with each sizzling sound of the sautéing vegetables, Sarah felt a magnetic pull toward Jake. There was something more than just brotherly affection simmering beneath the surface of their easy banter, and she couldn't quite place it. Each time their hands brushed against one another, jolts of electricity surged up her arm. Was it merely a figment of her imagination, or was there a real connection waiting to be explored? As she poured a generous amount of olive oil into the skillet, Jake leaned closer, peering at her concoction. "You sure you don't need help?" he asked, playfully nudging her with his shoulder, causing her to stumble slightly. "Ugh! I think I've got this under control," she shot back, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. But she could feel the warmth radiating from him, increasing the heat in the kitchen no stovetop required. They danced around the kitchen, focused yet reckless in their enthusiasm. Suddenly, an unexpected crash shattered the moment. A loud bang echoed from the living room, sending Sarah's heart into a tailspin. The carefree atmosphere evaporated, replaced by an electric tension. What was that? Jake's eyes widened as he turned toward the hallway. Sarah felt a pit form in her stomach. "Let's check it out," she said, trying to sound braver than she felt. They shared a meaningful glance, an unspoken agreement to face whatever chaos awaited them. As they rushed into the living room, the sight before them was pure pandemonium. The vase that usually adorned the coffee table lay shattered on the hardwood floor, its pieces glinting sharply in the afternoon light. At the heart of the chaos was Timmy, her little brother, sitting cross-legged amidst the wreckage, his round face a canvas of confusion and regret. "Timmy!" Sarah exclaimed, half exasperated, half amused. "What happened?" "Two was just playing," he stammered, his voice slightly wavering, threatened by tears. "I didn't mean to." Jake knelt beside him, his demeanor shifting instantly. "Hey there, buddy," he said, his voice calm and soothing. "It's okay. It was an accident, right?" His reassuring smile had the power to soothe even the most chaotic moments. Sarah's heart warmed at the sight of Jake in protective mode, so effortlessly stepping into a role that made him shine. Timmy nodded solemnly, glancing down at the shards of glass. I promise I'll be more careful, he murmured, trying to muster courage. Let's clean this up together, Sarah said, stepping closer, determination replacing the earlier tension. As they picked up the fragments, the weight of the moment shifted. Instead of frustration, she felt a rush of solidarity. Their family, even with its quirks and messes, was worth the effort. Returning to the kitchen, Sarah felt renewed. The chaotic crash had shifted her perspective. Cooking was no longer just a way to battle her fears. It was a way to build connections, to create memories that could outlast any shattered vase. Okay, back to the competition, she announced, a smile spreading across her face. Are you sure you can handle the heat after that distraction? Jake teased, ruffling her hair playfully. Sarah glared mockingly, a laugh bubbling up. I may be shaken, but I'm not stirred. They continued to cut, sauté, and season, enveloped in the kind of lively banter that made every moment feel like an adventure. As they plated their dishes, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. They had transformed a chaotic afternoon into a beautiful tapestry of joy, laughter, and sibling rivalry. But as she glanced at Jake, the familiar warmth ignited once more. There was still something unresolved hovering between them, something they had yet to name. Just as they were about to dig in, Jake's sudden seriousness broke through. You know, Sarah, he said slowly, you've really changed since I moved in. I know it's not always easy with the blended family and everything. He looked at her earnestly, layers of understanding unfolding in his gaze. But I want you to know that I'm here for you. Always. His sincerity tugged at her heart. They had both navigated the choppy waters of becoming a family, and somewhere along the way, they had become something more. Sarah felt tears prick. At her eyes, the weight of gratitude and joy crashing down on her all at once. Thanks, Jake, she replied softly, her voice tremulous with emotion. It wasn't just his words, but how effortlessly he made her feel valued, seen, heard. And in that moment, amid the aromatic chaos of the kitchen, Sarah realized that their bond ran deeper than she had ever allowed herself to acknowledge. Was it merely sibling affection, or was it something more profound than their shared laughter hinted at? The question lingered in the air, woven between the spices and the sizzling sounds of their kitchen. Their realities were blurring, stepping into uncharted territory, as the warmth of their friendship deepened into an emotional tapestry, both familiar and frightening. Little did they know, this afternoon in the kitchen would be the start of a journey that neither could have foreseen. A journey that would uncover the true depth of their connection and challenge everything they thought they knew about each other. The discovery. The light outside began to dim, casting a soft golden hue over the kitchen as Sarah and Jake sat down to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Each plate was a vibrant masterpiece, a testament to their friendly rivalry. The aromas danced in the air, mingling with laughter and the remnants of their playful banter. As Sarah took her first bite, a wave of satisfaction washed over her. Not bad, if I do say so myself, she chimed, narrowing her eyes playfully at Jake, who was about to take a forkful of his own creation. Jake pretended to consider her words as solemnly as possible. You know, I've had better. But this will do for now, he remarked, feigning indifference. The corners of his mouth twitched, threatening to break into a grin. Just then, a shadow passed across the kitchen doorway, causing both of them to turn simultaneously. Timmy stood there, looking sheepish but determined. Can I join you guys? He asked, his small voice barely louder than a whisper. Of course. Come on in, Timmy, Sarah said warmly, motioning for him to take a seat. The space instantly felt more complete with his presence, the three of them creating a makeshift family circle. As they dug into their meals, Timmy engaged enthusiastically in their playful jabs and friendly competition. Yet, with each moment, Sarah noticed a lingering tension between her and Jake that hovered just beneath the surface. When their eyes met, it was as though they were sharing secrets only they could understand, unspoken words that hung in the air like a tightly wound spring, ready to snap. After dinner, the familiar warmth of the kitchen gave way to an unfamiliar silence. Jake stood by the sink, washing the dishes, while Sarah dried off the plates beside him. Every brush of their arms sent tingles racing up her skin. Each glance exchanged felt charged with an intensity she couldn't quite decipher. Hey, you You remember that time we tried to bake cookies and set off the smoke alarm? Jake broke the silence, a smile breaking across his face. How could I forget? You kept insisting we could cover it up with vanilla extract. Sarah laughed, the memory cracking open the tension like a nut. Jake chuckled, his laughter rich and infectious. But just as quickly, her heart sank. The weight of unacknowledged feelings loomed larger than the dishes in front of them. She longed to dive deeper into their connection, wondering what would happen if they truly explored it. Suddenly, Timmy interrupted her thoughts. Can we do that again? I want to be the one who sets off the smoke alarm this time. His innocent declaration brought a fresh wave of laughter, and Sarah fought to maintain her composure. Only if you promise to wear your firefighter hat, Jake teased, and Sarah couldn't help but smile. In moments like these, they were a family. But underneath the humor, Sarah felt a storm brewing within her. What if this was all she would ever have? Was it worth risking their relationship to explore the feelings circling between her and Jake? As Timmy wandered off to entertain himself with toys, Sarah stole a glance at Jake. He was humming softly to himself, a rhythm that felt oddly comforting. But there was something else to an intensity in his expression she had never seen before, and it made her heart race. Jake? She ventured gently, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled over them. Yeah? He turned to her, his blue eyes meeting hers, wide open and inviting. Do you ever feel like there's something more between us? The words fell from her lips in a tumble, her breath hitching toward the end. A moment. Time stood still. Jake's gaze faltered, an imperceptible shift flickering across his expression. What do you mean, Sarah? The air crackled between them, heavy with anticipation. I don't know, she admitted, feeling vulnerability wash over her. I just feel like there's something deeper than just being step-siblings. Sometimes when we're together, it's like, I don't know, it feels different. His brows furrowed slightly, as if he were wrestling with her words. I thought it was just me, he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. The confession hung between them, thick with unspoken emotions. Really? Sarah's heart began to race, the reality of their connection dawning like the first light of dawn. You feel it too? Yeah, I do, Jake replied, and a tentative smile broke through a moment of uncertainty. But what does that mean? For us? Just then, a loud crash from the hallway sent both of them jumping, their moment interrupted. They exchanged startled glances before racing toward the sound, hearts pounding not just from the noise, but from the weight of what had almost been revealed. When they reached the living room, they found Timmy, the culprit behind the chaos, his toys scattered about like a forgotten battlefield. I was just trying to build a fort, he exclaimed, his excitement unmistakable. Jake and Sarah shared an exasperated yet fond look. You sure know how to make an entrance, little buddy, Jake said, shaking his head with a smile. I'm the king of the fort. Timmy declared proudly, oblivious to the furtive exchange that had just occurred between Sarah and Jake. We should join him, Sarah suggested, her heart still racing as if they had just narrowly escaped a pivotal moment. The idea of shifting focus away from their conversation felt like relief and disappointment all at once. As they settled onto the floor, assembling pillows and blankets under Timmy's direction, Sarah couldn't shake the idea that they were building something more than just a fort. With every layer they added, it felt like they were also fortifying their bond, reinforcing the walls around their thoughts and feelings that had yet to be explored. Once the fort was completed, the three of them collapsed inside, reveling in their little kingdom. The dim light filtered through the blankets, creating a cozy enclave that seemed to shield them from the outside world. This is the best fort ever, Timmy cheered, a wide grin lighting up his face. Sarah looked at Jake, from across the tiny space they had created. You know, this is a nice escape, she said quietly, her heart swirling with thoughts she dared not say aloud. Jake leaned closer, the warmth of his presence making her pulse quicken. Yeah, it is. I like being in here with you guys, he said softly, his eyes locking with hers in a way that made her breath hitch yet again. In that moment, surrounded by blankets and laughter, Sarah felt the pull toward Jake intensify. The uncertainty of their earlier conversation lingered like a whisper in the air, creating a charged atmosphere that felt both exciting and unnerving. "Let's make a pact," Jake suddenly suggested, his voice breaking into the warm bubble of their retreat. "No matter what happens, we always orchestrate our epic kitchen battles and build forts like this." Sarah smiled, sensing the sweetness in his word choice. "Deal," she said, holding out her pinky finger. Timmy watched in admiration as they sealed the pact, his small hand reaching out to join theirs. As laughter filled the confines of their fort, Sarah couldn't help but wish for a moment that time could stand still. There was magic in the air, and for the first time in a while, she felt free. But the question lingered in her mind. Could they ever really explore the relationship that was slowly unfurling between them? With each passing moment, the tension grew. The uncharted waters still beckoned, and Sarah knew that someday soon they would have to confront what lay beneath the surface. For now, their cozy fortress offered a refuge, a safe space where they could escape the complexities of the outside world, if only for a little while. Little did they know, their relationship was on the brink of transformation, teetering on the edge of something vast and unknown. Just outside their fort, the world continued to turn, but inside, they remained blissfully unaware of the changes that awaited them, both exciting and perilous alike. The secret recipe. The warmth of the fort enveloped Sarah, Jake, and Timmy like a cocoon, a protective barrier against the whirlwind of emotions swirling outside. Laughter echoed softly as Timmy created elaborate stories about imaginary creatures that inhabited their fortress. But beneath the innocent banter, Sarah felt a quiet tension brewing between her and Jake, one that had been festering since their earlier conversation. "Okay, let's make up a challenge," Timmy proposed enthusiastically, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Whoever can create the best monster story gets to be the Fort King." "I'm in," Jake declared, his eyes lighting up at the thought of turning their fortress into a storytelling arena. Sarah felt her heart race. This playful competition was a welcome distraction, yet the unresolved tension between her and Jake lingered like an unattended flame. "Fine, I'll go first," Timmy announced, puffing out his chest and trying to adopt a serious expression. Once upon a time, there was a giant purple monster named Gorgo, who lived in a cave filled with gummy bears. His story unfolded in an imaginative whirl, each twist punctuated with joy, proving he was well on his way to securing the title of Fort King. As Timmy animatedly recounted his tale, Sarah's mind drifted. She couldn't help but notice the way Jake leaned forward, his rapt attention focused entirely on their little brother. Part of her heart swelled with love for them both. The other part ached with an unfulfilled longing, a nagging question that refused to fade. "Okay, my turn," Jake said, clapping his hands together enthusiastically as Timmy finished his story. "This is the tale of Pocky the Swamp Monster," he began, weaving an intricate narrative infused with humor and a spin that made Timmy explode with laughter. While Jake's storytelling enchanted the younger sibling, Sarah studied him intently. She noticed the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, how his excitement sparked as he animatedly described Pocky invading a village with his fearsome yet silly antics. And as moments passed, she felt an irresistible pull toward him, a gravity that drew her in deeper with every word he spoke. Just as Jake was about to reveal Pocky's ultimate battle against the townspeople, Sarah instinctively interrupted. "Wait. What if the villagers unite and discover a hidden secret about the monster?" Her mind raced with creative possibilities. The idea felt electrifying. "Like a hidden treasure?" Timmy chimed in, his eyes wide with fascination. "Exactly. But not just any treasure," Sarah continued, excitement bubbling to the surface. "What if it's a secret recipe for the most delicious cookies ever?" The notion of cookies instantly sparked her imagination, invoking warmth from cherished childhood. Memories spent baking with her mother, cookies. "Now you're talking," Jake added, leaning closer, clearly fascinated by the new twist. "And they could unleash powerful magic that can make everyone fly." The fort filled with giggles, their imaginations spinning wildly as each of them squeezed out the most outrageous ideas. But even as they proclaimed wild hypotheses, The deeper connection binding Sarah to Jake lingered in the air, a shadow of something unsaid. As the night wore on, they finished their stories and settled into an easy camaraderie, but Sarah couldn't shake off the feeling that this might be their last moment of carefree joy before the complexities of reality crashed in on them. "Can you promise me that we'll always keep these moments special?" Sarah asked, her voice betraying a vulnerability she hadn't intended to reveal. Jake looked directly at her, a thoughtful expression crossing his features. "Of course, no matter what happens, our fort will always be safe," he promised. Energy surged around them, a secret shared, a flickering fire waiting to ignite. "Hey, let's do something fun before we call it a night." Timmy's innocent suggestion beckoned brightly, pulling them back into the present. "Let's organize a treasure hunt right here in the living room." "Great idea!" Jake exclaimed, instantly taking charge. "We can create clues that lead to a hidden treasure. This magical cookie recipe, maybe." The very thought sent Sarah's heart racing, sparking even more ideas about possibilities. By the time they finished drafting their treasure hunt, they each felt a little lighter, the earlier tension momentarily forgotten. As they climbed out of their fort, Sarah took a breath, the air infused with a mix of excitement and thrill. Jake stood beside her, his shoulder brushing against hers, sending that familiar jolt coursing through her veins again. The world beyond their sanctuary felt vast and filled with unsolved mysteries. But for now, inside their home, they were safe. Their mission to create clues felt exhilarating as each step brought them closer to the treasure. Laughter rang out as they ran through the living room, swiftly turning every nook and cranny into an imaginative hiding spot. When they finally huddled, back in their fort to wrap up their clues, Sarah couldn't shake off the weight of unfinished conversations about feelings. The closeness between them felt tantalizing but daunting. "All right, who's going first?" Jake asked, leaning in as they all pulled out pieces of paper with their clues scrawled on them. "I will!" Timmy shouted, puffing out his chest, and excitement rippled through Sarah's heart as they enacted their homemade game. "Okay, the first clue," Timmy read, scanning the paper. "To find your treasure, start where we keep our shoes. The best treasure is waiting. Just look and choose." Jake grinned at Sarah, ready to dive into the treasure hunt. "Let's go." They rushed toward the shoe rack, the thrill of discovery in the air. Timmy found the first clue tucked away behind an old pair of boots. "Next clue!" he shouted, holding it like a trophy. As they continued their adventure, Sarah felt the air grow heavier, charged with anticipation. With every clue they uncovered, it became increasingly evident that time was on their tail. They played on, but the unspoken energy danced between her and Jake, sparking a connection so powerful it felt overwhelming. As they progressed, they reached the final clue, which led them outside onto the porch. The cool breeze nipped at Sarah's skin, and for a moment, she felt the thrill of the impending night wrap around her like a cloak. The final clue is hidden where special memories lie. Find the treasure and see the magic that will surely fly. What could that mean? Jake pondered aloud, glancing around for answers. Timmy pointed toward the backyard, his eyes shining with determination. "The old swing set. We have so many good times there." With hearts pumping, they raced toward the worn swing set, each step echoing Sarah's anticipation. She felt a mix of fear and excitement swell within her, a desire to finally confront the feelings she had buried for so long. When Jake reached the swing set, he knelt down and began to dig excitedly at the base of one of the swings. "Come on, there has to be something here," he urged, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. Sarah knelt beside him, heartbeat thrumming in her chest. Would they find something monumental, or was it just the thrill of the moment? As Jake continued to dig, Timmy hopped up and down, radiating energy. Suddenly, Jake's hand brushed against something stiff and crinkly. Both Sarah and Timmy leaned in closer, breath trapped in their lungs as he pulled out a small old tin box. The light danced across its surface, hinting at the secrets hidden inside. "What's this?" Jake whispered, looking up at Sarah, eyes wide with wonder. "I don't know, but let's open it," Timmy exclaimed, anticipation spiking in the air around them. As Jake managed to pry open the box, a flurry of dust erupted around them, making them cough and laugh. Inside, they found an assortment of old recipes and notes yellowed with age. "This is amazing," Jake exclaimed, pulling out a particular scrawled recipe, the one their mother used to create cookies every holiday. "It's the secret cookie recipe. We've got to make them." Just then, the subtle weight of unspoken emotions shifted in the air between Sarah and Jake. For a moment, their laughter faded away. Everything felt amplified as they realized they'd collectively uncovered a piece of their family's history. But hidden beneath that joy lay the unresolved tension that had been brewing ever since they had many encounters of vulnerability. As they stood together at the swing set, memories swirling through their minds, Sarah felt a slow wave of clarity crash over her. She had to confront their connection. The depth of her feelings was undeniable, lingering bright and raw, just waiting for a spark to catch fire. "Jake," she began softly, her heart pounding as she shifted to face him directly. "There's something we need to talk about. Something that's been building between us." He blinked, surprise flickering across his features, the light around them dimming as the weight of their moment settled like a soft blanket. But before either could respond, the cheerful sound of Timmy interrupted, yanking them back from the edge of their vulnerability. "Can we bake cookies now?" he shouted, jumping in place, blissfully unaware of the electric tension hanging between them. With a soft laugh, Sarah felt the moment slip away once more, like sand through her fingers. The evening was still young, filled with recipes, laughter, and secrets waiting to be uncovered. But the time was coming, she could feel it in her bones, a moment where they might finally have to confront the uncharted territory that lay ahead, stepping bravely into the unknown. And so, with a quiet resolve, she turned back to the swing set, silently promising herself that someday soon she would possess the courage to unveil her heart. For now, they had cookies to bake, laughter to share, and a night filled with adventure ahead. But tomorrow would hold its own mysteries. Tomorrow might just push them to the edge of a horizon where they would have to confront their feelings head-on, immersing themselves in whatever awaited them in the daylight. The outcome. With the old tin box clutched in one hand and the treasured cookie recipe in the other, Sarah felt a rush of excitement and purpose. She glanced at Jake, who was still examining the scattered notes, lost in the nostalgia of their shared childhood memories. The idea of baking cookies was thrilling on its own, but nestled in that excitement was an underlying sense of urgency, a need to address the uncharted territory stretching between them. "Okay, Timmy, are you ready to bake?" "Some magic?" Sarah exclaimed, lifting the beloved recipe from the box. Timmy's eyes widened with glee. "Yes, let's make the cookies fly," he cheered, his youthful enthusiasm infectious. Jake stood up, brushing off dirt from his hands as he joined them. "All right, team, let's head back inside and get everything we need. This recipe isn't going to bake itself." As they made their way back into the house, Sarah felt the buoyancy of the moment lifting her spirits. If they could all focus on creating something together, it might temporarily mask the tension still swirling beneath the surface, the unanswered questions that lingered like shadows. Once inside, they gathered the ingredients listed on the faded recipe. Flour, sugar, butter, and chocolate chips lined the countertop, a symphony of baking necessities. Sarah couldn't help but feel a rush of nostalgia as the scent of vanilla filled the air. It was as if the very aroma wove threads of memories directly into her heart. "All right, let's start mixing," Jake said, his enthusiasm bubbling over. He grabbed a large mixing bowl, and together they dove into the activity, laughter and chatter soon enveloping them as they whisked and stirred. But as they worked side by side, Sarah's thoughts drifted back to their earlier conversation, the raw emotions that they had almost confronted at the swing set. With each scoop of flour, it felt as if the air thickened with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. "Hey, Sarah, what do you think makes these cookies so special?" Jake asked, glancing over at her with curiosity. She paused, considering the question. "I think it's the memories that come with them," she replied softly, meeting his gaze. "Every time we bake, we're creating something new together, something that holds a piece of our history." Jake nodded thoughtfully, his eyes searching hers. "Yeah, I feel that too. But do you think the magic of these cookies can help us understand what's happening between us?" The moment hung suspended, heavy with the weight of what they both knew they were really discussing. Sarah's heart raced. They were staring down the precipice of a conversation that could change everything. "Maybe," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it's difficult to say what it really means when we're amidst all this." Just then, Timmy skipped in, oblivious to the intensity around them. "What's the next step?" he chirped, grinning eagerly. "Let's add the chocolate chips," Jake proclaimed, thrusting the bag toward Timmy, who gleefully poured in a generous amount, cascading sweet chips into the mixing bowl. The moment dissolved some of the tension, and Sarah felt her heart swell with affection for her little brother, grateful for the laughter he brought. After they mixed everything together, the batter emerged rich and creamy, swirling with color and flavor. It felt like a tangible symbol of their Bonda representation of love, laughter, and warmth. When they finally scooped the dough onto baking sheets and slid them into the oven, Sarah's excitement bubbled over. The rich scent enveloped the kitchen, filling them with comforting warmth and familiarity. As they cleaned up, the three of them chatted merrily, Timmy's imagination once again steering their playful banter. 20 minutes later, the timer rang, and the smell of freshly baked cookies wafted through the house like an enchanting spell. "They're ready!" Timmy shouted, hopping on his toes. Jake opened the oven, revealing a tray of golden treats. That looked irresistibly delicious. "It's time to taste victory," he declared, pulling out the tray with precision. As Jake set the tray down to cool, Sarah felt a bubbly thrill pulse within her. "The real test is about to begin," she said, leaning closer, keen to share this creative moment with him. Each of them grabbed a warm cookie, the chocolate still gooey and melting at the edges. Timmy took a big bite, eyes widening in delight. "These are amazing," he proclaimed, crumbs flying from his mouth. Jake flashed a smile at Sarah, his eyes gleaming with joy. "You did great, Sarah. These cookies wouldn't have been the same without you." Heat rushed to her cheeks. "Thanks, but I couldn't have done it without you guys." They all shared a moment of laughter, but the air remained thick with the unsaid. "Okay, here's a fun idea," Jake suggested suddenly, his sparkle returning. "Let's have a cookie tasting contest. We can rate them, and the winner gets to choose the next activity." "Sounds great," Timmy cheered, excitement pouring through him. As they gathered around the table, the tension from before seemed to fade momentarily. The evening was filled with silliness, as they each took turns tasting the cookies and rating them based on taste, texture, and overall magic. But every time Jake turned to Sarah, she felt that electric connection reignite, a reminder of the feelings that still loomed between them. It was exhilarating, yet terrifying, like standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting to dive into the unknown waters below. Just as they were tallying the scores, Timmy piped up, "Wait, what's the prize for winning?" Jake said, scratching, his head in mock concentration. "How about a day of whatever you want? I'll be your trusty servant." Timmy grinned, clearly delighted with the idea. "I want to go to the park and have a picnic." "Deal." "You've got my vote," Jake replied, laughing. "If I win," Sarah interjected, her heart racing, "I want us to have a family movie night, just the three of us." Jake nodded eagerly, but Sarah could feel the way his gaze lingered on her, almost as if he already knew what she was going to say next. "And if I win?" Jake hesitated for dramatic effect. "I want us to go on a hiking adventure. A real expedition, just like we used to do." The stakes were set. Moments later, they reveled in laughter as they finally counted their ratings, agreeing on each cookie's impressive qualities. The excitement bubbled as they declared a winner. Timmy, who beamed brighter than the stars outside, "I knew I'd win," he shouted, doing a little victory dance. Just as they were celebrating, Sarah felt a rush of bravery surge within her, a tether she couldn't ignore any longer. "Jake?" she said softly, stepping closer even as Timmy cheered. "Yeah?" he replied, his voice steady but with an edge of uncertainty. "I know we've been dancing around something special," Sarah began, her heart racing as the walls of the kitchen faded into the background. "And I think we owe it to ourselves to be honest with each other about everything." Time seemed to pause as they locked, eyes the warmth between them palpable. The echoes of the evening washed over them, and in that moment, it felt as if the world had narrowed to just the two of them. "I feel it too," Jake admitted, the vulnerability in his voice luring her further into the depths of their connection. "It's scary, but it's real." Before she could respond, Timmy, oblivious to the charged atmosphere, burst out, "What's real? Can I be part of it?" That innocent interruption broke the tension like a balloon popping, sending tremors of laughter through them. But as they resumed their playful atmosphere, Sarah felt a pang of longing. Would they ever fully explore what they had unearthed? Or would moments like these continue to slip through their fingers like warm chocolate? As they wrapped up the evening, she held onto her thoughts, knowing the time would come when they'd have to confront everything fully. Yet for now, they stored laughter and love into the heart of their growing family, creating layers of warmth that filled the spaces between them. But soon, the joyous evening took an unexpected turn. A loud knock sounded at the door, harsh and jarring against the comfort of their sweet sanctuary. "What was that?" Timmy squeaked, the brightness of the moment evaporating. Jake's brows furrowed, and Sarah felt a sense of dread creeping in. "I'll check," he said, moving toward the door. As he opened it slightly, a gust of cold wind blew through, casting a chill through the room. But there stood someone unexpected, an old family friend, their expressions serious and grave. "Everything okay?" Jake asked, heart thumping loudly in his chest. The friend's words flooded out, laced with urgency. "We need to talk. There's something important going on, something that could change everything." Sarah's heart dropped. The warmth of the evening had been disrupted, the guarded truth looming over them like a shadow prepared to engulf their radiant light. What did this visitor mean? Whatever it was, it felt monumental, and she sensed the very fabric of their newly stitched bond was on the verge of unraveling before they even had the chance to explore its full depth. The night was no longer just about cookies and laughter. It held the potential for transformation that could reshape their lives forever. As Sarah held her breath, she wondered, was this the moment they've all been waiting for? Or was it something that would pull them further apart, testing the strength of their familial connections? Only time would reveal the truth, but Sarah felt the weight of what lay ahead. Whatever it was, it had the power to either solidify their bond or fracture it, an impending storm in their beautifully crafted world of cookie magic and heartfelt confessions.